how the Belarusian elections will impact its future and international relations. The recent presidential election in Belarus, held on January 28th, has sparked strong criticism from Western leaders and the opposition. The officially announced result, which claimed that Alexander Lukashenko secured nearly 87% of the vote, has been widely dismissed as fraudulent. Western politicians and human rights organizations condemned the election, highlighting the severe repression and suppression of dissent that accompanied the process. Domestic political situation. Analysts note that the elections were conducted under tightened government control. Many opposition leaders are either imprisoned or have been forced into exile. Despite the partial release of some political prisoners ahead of the vote, the overall level of repression remains high. According to the British think tank Chatham, House voter turnout was approximately 36%, significantly lower than the 75% turnout recorded in the 2020 elections. This indicates widespread public apathy and a deep loss of trust in the political process. Western response and potential sanctions. The European Union and several Western countries, including the US, the UK, Canada, and Australia, have declared that they do not recognize the election results. In a joint statement, these nations condemned human rights violations in Belarus and warned of new sanctions against its leadership. Germany described the election as unfair and undemocratic, with German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock stating that the Belarusian people continue to live in fear and repression. The British and Canadian governments have announced sanctions against several senior Belarusian officials and defense sector enterprises, Belarus and the Ukraine conflict. Belarus remains a key ally of Russia, providing its territory for military operations. Lukashenko has allowed Russia to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, raising concerns across Europe. Western analysts suggest that Lukashenko is attempting to navigate between Moscow and Europe. On one hand, he supports the Kremlin, while on the other, he seeks ways to ease sanctions and improve relations with the West by positioning himself as a potential mediator in Ukraine peace talks. However, the prospect of normalizing ties with Europe remains unlikely given the ongoing repression in Belarus and its role in Russia's military campaign. Moscow's influence over Minsk continues to grow, further limiting Lukashenko's ability to act independently. Conclusion. The election reaffirmed the Belarusian authorities' firm grip on the political system, but also highlighted the declining public engagement in the voting process. Western nations have condemned the election outcome and threatened additional sanctions, while Lukashenko continues to balance his reliance on Russia with attempts to maintain some diplomatic maneuverability. Belarus' future trajectory will largely depend on developments in the Ukraine conflict and international pressure.